Do 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 do. How's everybody doing on this glorious day, glorious afternoon, glorious evening, glorious morning? Whenever you are looking at this, it is a glorious time. It is a glorious time. I want to welcome all of you to the Book I Read podcast, the Book I Read show, wherever you're watching this at. I appreciate your support. My guests appreciate your support. Uh, this podcast has been made because I, being a somewhat artist myself, I come up with quotes all the time. I come up with wisdom all the time. And, I thought that why not create a platform for me to talk to artists to see what they go through when they're creating things, also give them an avenue to and talk about the creations that they have to come out. And it's not always a place that you can go to publish the things you have coming out, because you always want to talk about those new avenues you have coming out. And that's what this is about, the book I read. Uh, I remember growing up, the Reading Rainbow. And Reading Rainbow, they had all different type of books on there. And that's what I want my podcast or this episode, this show to be kind of like. Reading Rainbow taught me that I got to meet great people, and it wasn't necessarily about it being Burden as a black host. He talked to everyone as a human being. And that's what my show is going to be about, talking to people as human beings. Of course, I see color. You have no choice but to see the color, but that doesn't stop you from seeing humanity also, because there's a story in each book. You have to get inside the book to read it. If you just read the outsides, you never miss the journey inside. With that being said, I have someone who with me is an Arkansan like myself. And so, I have to talk to my Arkansans, and I have to give them the just due that they need. And she's also a podcaster, an author. She's a praise dancer. Boy, if I can get the Holy Ghost right now, I'll show y'all how much of a praise dancer I am, but I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. Lord, hold them back. Hold them back. Hold them back. Uh, Most of y'all may say she's a singer, but I'm going to say she's a singer. And if y'all know what a singer is, that means she can get out there and do it. And she's also a professional speaker. She knows how to use her vocabulary in ways that make people move, feel better, and pick them up. And she also uses it on herself. We've had conversations, I'd say, getting this podcast on the road. So we've already had our conversations, so we know that we are able to communicate amongst each other. But for that, I say to the people out there, get your pens, get your paper, get your notes ready, sit back, relax. Whatever you want to drink, whatever that may be, even if it's water, sit back, relax, take some sips, because we're about to get into the book of Miss Shunta Graham. Miss Shunta, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. We both dealing with this cold weather. So, it's cold
Hmm.
in the country. So it's cold in the country. But come May, everybody be like, man, it's hot in the country. So, some people are happy right now, some people are mad. How are you doing mentally? I know last time we talked, you said you was
Mentally,
okay. So how are you doing mentally?
I'm still good mentally. Still good.
That's good. How are you still managing your mental health?
I take time to sit down and unplug basically from everything and just do what I love to do, which it could be painting, it could be reading a book, watching a good movie. I literally unplug from especially social media that because it would have you crazy. You just constantly be on it all day and just deep down into it. You have to unplug. You have to unplug to be mentally stable, really, because there's so much stuff on the internet that it can literally take you down through there. So yeah,
That is
I
true.
unplug.
That is true. Sometimes you have to turn all that stuff off to be able to turn all your other stuff on. I
Mhm.
sometimes will just go for a ride. No music, just me and the atmosphere. Because
Mhm.
I like to ride sometimes, and of course, in Arkansas, there's a lot of open space. I like to ride sometimes and be like, man, well, I wonder what used to be there instead of what's there now. I'm like, man, I wonder what used to be there. Look at how much we've uh, evolved over time. Uh, and so as you're riding, that becomes a peaceful moment, and you get to look at nature and you get to look at where you are now, and it's just an
Mhm.
evolution of self moment. So you that's my unplugging moment. Like now, if you can't get outside, you still can look out the window and be like, man, look at the snow falling, look at the trees, look and see how beautiful that is. So it's still a beautiful
Yeah.
moment. Um, I start with an open quote. My quote today is from a Mr. Colson Whitehead. Uh, the quote says, if it is true for you, it is true for someone else, and you are no longer alone. What do you think about that quote?
You always have yourself there, you and your thoughts. So you are not alone because you're there. You know, you're in your own space in your own head. So you're really never alone.
That is true. I talk to myself sometimes because who else can I talk to, well, besides God,
Right.
or whoever your higher beings may be. But sometimes you have to talk to yourself, and you're like, hey, you need to do better.
Yes.
Sometimes it's you that you need to talk to instead of listening to everybody else. You got to talk to yourself, and I I have the same thoughts as you. You are never alone because there's always you. There's always someone checking on you. There's always someone calling. Sometimes when you're going through things, you just have to notice that those people are there even when they're silent. Uh,
Mhm.
Talk to me about who, as a young person, Miss Graham was. Did she always want to be an author, praise dancer, singer?
Well, I knew that I wanted to write because that's what I got fussed into most from my mom because she was constantly buying me paper because I would in my spare time in between lessons or if I'm in class and I finish my work early, I would be just doodling and writing and just writing short stories all the time. So I won't say that I knew I was going to be a writer, but I knew I wanted to write. And far as dancing, that was something that I kind of accidentally got into. We just wanted to be a part of the talent show at the church, and it happened, and we won first place, and it was a gift that I ended up finding out later that was a gift from God that He allowed us to stumble into dancing. But all of it, singing, dancing, all of that just happened when it happened. Like when it comes to singing, I have singing on both sides of my family. So I had no choice but to sing because they made us sing in the choir. You're gonna get up there. If no one else get up there, y'all gonna get up there. Y'all know how to sing. They're
Yep.
practicing with us at home, so we had no choice but to sing. So that's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
how, yeah, I kind of got into it. Pretty much everything I'm doing.
Oh yeah. You know your brother graduated, right? So you know it's your time to take over the youth choir, right? They volunteer you quick. They volunteer you
Yeah,
quick. They already got your line. You know it's time for you to get on up there and be part of the praise dance team, don't you? You know it's your turn. Because if it ain't your mama, it's the elders in the church. They be like, baby, you going to be a preacher one
yeah,
day. They'll sure tell you. They'll tell you quick. And you being a young person in the church, they be like, well, let me go on up here and get this. And then you got your friends. And that's how you grow up because
yeah.
my dad was in a singing group, so that's how I learned to play drums. That's how I learned to play the piano. That's how I learned to pick at the guitar. I didn't say I'm a player of the guitar, but I can pick at it. I can dee 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 dee. Uh, so that's how I learned to do a lot of that. I remember going to see Mighty Clouds of Joy. Five Blind Boys of Alabama. Uh, those
Hmm.
groups as a young kid. Uh, they probably don't even remember it, but I remember that, and I remember.
Yeah. Well, actually, it started as just simply journaling how I felt that day, how what happened at school pretty much. It just literally just started out as journal, and that journaling turned into poetry because I would write like how I felt, and I was like, oh, this could be a good poem, and then it went from that to just short stories that's just in my head, and a lot of it was lost over the years because we moved a lot. So I wish I would have kept up with it because I'm quite sure it would. I could see where was at that moment, at that time, at that age. But of course, it's long gone now. But that's literally how it started. It's just simply journaling how I felt for that day.
It's okay. That's okay. But I still have my book of of quotes and that I've wrote through out my lifetime, and with the advancement of social media and iPads and phones with the notepad, that's where I put them at now. And it's easier to keep up with them. And I've even moved a majority of them over to the notepad, uh,
Hmm.
and then email them to myself. So it's easier to keep. And there's
Yeah.
particular ones that I've written that people still have that I can still reach back and like, hey, send me a copy of that. They still have it in certain places. Uh,
Hmm.
but for you, at what point did it start to advance to another level? Hey, I can do more with this than just be quotes. Because well, I'll say it like this: for females, it's easier because you all start journaling at an earlier age than guys do. Guys don't really do a lot of journaling at
Yeah.
early ages. So it's easier for you all to turn it into a book because your life has already been written down on a daily basis. Now it would be called affirmations or the vision boards. That's what they
Yes.
call it now. So,
Yes.
but you all have already been doing vision boards at an early age where a lot of guys or people, period, don't really use journals early on in life. So for you, I'm guessing it wasn't as hard to advance it to another level. Okay, I'm doing quotes, I'm doing journals. Maybe I have something here. What was the click to say, let me put this into a book?
Well, what really clicked was I said, okay, I have a story to tell. I've been through a lot, so it's time to like quit hiding. Because people was like, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story and how that you turned out opposite of what most people that have gone through what you went through. You're on the opposite end, and you need to tell people your story. So I just decided one day to just connect with a lady who is an author and who has started a community with just women authors and women who wanted to be authors. I connected with her, and she asked me what would what would my story be? Like, what did I want to write in the book? And I had to decide, okay, what part of my life did I want to tell? And so I decided to do the part of my life that had the most effect on me was me growing up, being bullied as a child, and things like that. So I decided to tell people my story about how I was bullied and how what people say, family and non-family, follows you into your adulthood, and it can affect the decisions that you make and how you think about certain things.
So how long did it take for you to, because I've talked to people, I've heard about writing books. I haven't really went through writing my own yet because I don't know what I want to put in it. I want to make a book of quotes, but it's a lot of book of quotes. I want to write a story, but when you get to writing story, you got to find the names to cover up certain names you want to write a story about. And then all of a sudden, when you're
Mhm.
writing certain stories and you pick certain names, you might pick a name that's in part of the story. So, it's a lot that goes into that
Mhm.
people don't know, that writing a story to cover up certain names. Uh, Let me use this example. When you watch certain movies that's about real instances, they
Mhm.
say in the blurb, some of this has been covered up to protect part of this. And so, but you don't really know what part of it is, but the person's part of the story understands what part has been covered up.
Right.
Um, that's a process, and it's not like 2 to 3 day process. How long did it actually take for you to come to grips with all of that, what you wanted to say in the book, period? After what all you've been through, what all did you want to put? Because it's not one draft, it's like 3 or 4 drafts before everything actually gets published.
Right. Well, with this particular anthology, I think we had 5 months to get it together. That's with all the drafts and all of that. We literally had 5 months. I mean, it wasn't a big um, chapter. We didn't have to write a lot of words, but we had to make our point quick and make it impactful. And we had a wonderful editor that if it's something that she didn't understand, she brought it out to where it helps the reader to understand where your story is coming from. So we literally had 5 months, and when I tell you that was the hardest 5 months that I ever had to go through, it was the hardest 5 months because it was so much being released as I was writing my chapter, and I was literally um, receiving part of my healing as I wrote my chapter for that particular book. So I'm writing, and then I had to stop, and I'm crying, I'm boohooing, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I literally was like, you could take my part out the book. I don't even want to be a part of this. But I'm thankful and grateful for my husband who says, you don't know whose life you will impact just by telling your story. And I said, okay,
Somebody
I'm not
else.
I'm not gonna just give up like that. And I kept going. Oh, it was a fight, but I kept going, and I'm thankful and grateful that I had that person in my ear to say, okay, you can't stop when it gets tough. So yeah,
And then the thing is for everybody that's listening and watching, it's it's a release, but it's also a relive. So,
yeah,
it's in that 5 months that she's reliving everything that she probably never knew how to release. And so that 5 month window for every writer, uh, the it's not a crunch, but that's a good time period because now if they said, hey, you have 5 months to get this out. It's not perfect. She's just writing it to get it out. You go through it
yeah,
after, but that's a time period that you've pushed off. I do it later. I do it later. I do it later.
mhm,
But now,
yeah,
since you um, showed up and manifested and grinded through it,
yeah,
you see that segue?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. You showed up and manifested for yourself, and then you had someone to help you grind through it, uh,
mhm,
which also probably led to you doing a podcast called Show Up and Manifest and Grind Podcast. Is that where the title came from? Because you look back at how you got through the book, how you've made it through everything you've been through, because show up and manifest and grind is a lot of what a lot of us do. We just don't realize that we can need to. Good job. You did a good job.
yeah,
Because that's one thing that uh, we don't do is give ourselves affirmations. But what can an affirmation queen like yourself tell people about giving themselves affirmations?
oh, it's a lot. Um, it's a quote, but it's also scripture. One that I actually live by is Romans 8:28 that says all things. Well, we know all things work together for the good of them who are called according to the purpose. Regardless of what we've been through, even now, it's all gonna work out. It may not seem like it's working out. We may not like how it feels right now, but it's all gonna work out, and it's gonna make us stronger. It's gonna make us wiser. Like I said, no one likes to go through trials. No one. Because who wants to get a whooping? Who wants to have hardship?
Ain't
But
that the
it's
truth?
all there when we get through it and look back. Okay, I'm wiser now. I'm stronger. I'm better. Okay,
Go
can't
ahead,
nothing stop
Marvin
me
Sapp. Go ahead, Marvin
now.
Sapp.
Right. Yes.
He
We
turned
we
two
can do
words
it.
into
I
a million
mean,
dollar song.
yeah, yeah.
It's like I told you when we had our first conversation. I said the storm is going to be there. It's there before you go through it. It's there while you're going
Yeah,
through it, and it's there after you're going through it. It's what you learn when you're doing the process that makes it
yeah,
that much better. Because you do become wiser, you do become stronger. That's the purpose of you going through the storm. But you can't make your storm trying to avoid a storm. And a lot of us make our
yeah.
storms trying to avoid learning the lessons, trying to avoid going through the storm. And when we ask for those umbrellas, we get mad at the people that bring them to us because that's not the people we want to be handing us the umbrellas, which creates another storm.
Yeah.
So as you was talking, I was looking up because I also have a daily Bible app that sends different Bible
Yeah.
verses. And for today, the two is opportunity for in the morning, and then this afternoon it will say seasoning. I hadn't looked at it yet until you gave that Bible verse, and it says seasoning, and it's Mark 9 and 50, and it says salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? Have salt in yourselves, be at peace with each other. And that goes along with everything you're saying because we know when food loses salt, what do?
Add more to it.
But you can't do that when you've reached a point in your life to where you've lost your saltiness, you've lost
hmm
your seasoning. But I always tell people you hadn't lost it, you just forgot what it was like to be seasoned because you've already
Yeah.
been seasoned by Most High. You just
Yeah.
forgot what it's like to be seasoned. And even when
Yeah.
you're going through your trials, you forget what it's like to be seasoned because you go in season. You come out losing some of it because you've trying to avoid that storm.
Yeah.
The Show Up, Manifest, and Grind podcast, when did you create it? Is it before
It
your
is.
storm, after, or once you got? Is it? Well, let me ask this: was it after you started to write the book, or during your process of writing your book?
It was actually after I got that first initial chapter out in the book. I wasn't even trying to start a podcast, to be honest.
It's work.
But the Lord said, "This is
It's
what I
work.
need you to do.
Yeah. When he say he got something for you to say, that's your avenue.
This is how I want you to do it." And for the name, I knew I wanted it to be personal because I started with my initials, and I was like, "How can I make this personable, but also relatable?" And I was just sitting there, just looking at my initials, and I wrote all kind of stuff down, and then just I woke up one morning, and the three words show up. Well, the words show up, manifest, and grind just popped in my spirit. I said, "Well, let me go look. Let me go look this up." And as I looked it up, the Holy Spirit was just revealing. He's like, "See, this is how you showed up for you when you decided to go ahead and to write your story and to go live and to tell people on the live, give them affirmations to go by, using the ones that you use and looking at every day. You showed up for you, and so you're encouraging them. I need you to encourage them to show up for them and to work hard at it because it's not going to be easy. And
It's never
everything
easy.
that you want and desire is going to manifest because you decided to show up. Did you realize it didn't show up until you decided it didn't manifest until you decided to show up for you? And I was like, "You show right. You show right." And that's literally how it started.
I'm surprised you didn't call the podcast. You show right podcast because sometimes that's all you got to say. Because once you make their realization that you be like, man, you show right, you show
Yeah,
right.
you show right.
You, you know what? You ain't got nothing else to say except you show right, and that's it.
Yeah,
Because you looking for your answers, and the whole time the answers have already been provided to you. Which brings me back to you said don't nobody want to get whooped. I was talking to one of my buddies, And he said, man, God was whooping me. And, I ain't like it. I said, to be honest with you, God had already whooped you. You just didn't know it. It's just when you realized it,
Yeah.
you thought you was getting whooped. I told him, I said, you'd already been whooped, bro. I said, you just didn't
Yeah.
realize it. I said, a lot of times we've done that dirt. I said, and then
Yeah.
we've already been whooped. We just didn't realize this. By the time it reaches us, we're feeling bad about it. Because
Yeah.
now we're whooping ourselves. And God's like, I already done whooped you, bro. You 2 years late. So
Yeah.
a lot of times it's on us because the punishment has already been done. It just hadn't reached us yet. Because what is that? 100 years is like a day to the Lord.
Yeah.
So that's why when I saw your Show Up and Manifest and Grind podcast, because I like the title, because to show up is something you have to do. God's gonna
Yeah.
manifest it, but He wants to see if you're gonna show up for what you're asking for. If you don't
Yeah.
never show up, He's gonna be like, why you keep asking for it? You ain't doing no work.
Right.
How do you want me to manifest if you're not doing the work? If you're not out there grinding for what you're
Yeah.
asking for? I give it to you, but you got to at least meet me halfway. And that's what a lot of
Exactly.
people,
You do your part.
yeah, a lot of people don't do their part. So, I like that, which I want to say congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
award for Praise Dancer and Woman on the Rise Awards that she won in, if I got the dates correct, 2022. Or is that correct?
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
in the,
2022, 2023,
she got
one
them in
of
the
them.
she got them in the last 5 years. I'd say it like that. In the last
Yeah.
5 years, she won them 2 awards. That way, neither one of us wrong.
Yeah.
But what was it like to win Praise Dancer and Woman on the Rise Award? What was it like to win those 2 awards? Because Praise
Well, the
Dancer, that
praise.
started in the church. That started in the church in the front row. Like, hey, we got the praise dancers today, y'all. Y'all give it up for the praise dancers. Everybody be like, come on, baby, get on up there and do your job.
Yeah. To win that award, it was amazing. It was confirming because it was just something we just wanted to do. We just wanted to be in a talent show. It was me, my sister, best friend, and cousin. We just wanted to be in the talent show, to have something to do in the talent show. And just from us doing that one dance, all the other youth was like, oh, we want to do it too. So literally, the praise dance ministry at our church was birthed from that one, just wanting to be in the talent show. And I didn't realize it was a gift until I was literally an adult, when I can literally hear a song and I can see the moves in my head. And I was like, huh? And the Lord was like, I blessed you with that gift to where you can minister to other people, to help them get deliverance and to be set free just from watching you worship me. And I was like, wow. And then when I was nominated for it, just the fact that somebody thought enough to nominate me, and I'm like, oh, I haven't danced in a couple of years. I don't dance as much as I used to when I was younger. But the fact that someone saw it and was like, I think she deserves that award, was like, okay, God. He was like, okay, I'm trying to tell you, I placed this in you for a reason. And of
Well,
course, I cried like a little baby. When she called my name, I cried like a baby. I was like, thank you, Lord. Thank you,
you're
Lord.
supposed to.
Yeah, I cried
That
like a baby.
manifestation. That's that manifestation in your grind paying off. Because
Yeah,
that was that somebody took the time and prayed for you that
yeah,
you would get that, because somebody watched it, somebody paid attention to it. And as an artist, we do a lot of things that we think nobody's watching, but a
yeah,
lot of the things we do is the manifestation for someone else to be like, oh, you know what? I had that idea. So if they can do it, if Shunta can do it, then that's
yeah.
motivation that I can do it. She made it through, then I made it through. And with the podcast, I started out with one. Now I have
Hmm.
three. And that's why I say it's work. But
Yeah.
I'm in the third season of my Hell I Don't Know podcast. And this is the first season of the Book I Read podcast. I have a
Okay.
sports podcast. I just created a music podcast. So, but the difference in running a podcast, so you all know, is you have to know when they need to run. You don't have to run them
Yeah.
like everybody else is run them. They need to run when you want them to run. And
Right.
I got in podcast groups, so listening to everybody what they were saying, and I just tell people when they get in, do what's best for you. Don't worry about the
Right.
algorithm. Do what's best for you. What's going to work is going to work. Uh, because my original podcast started with different names, so I had to see what suited me, and that's
Mhm.
what the creative thing in me says. And with me being a faithful person myself, I'm running with what's given to me, what sticks. So
Yeah.
I have the gift of being able to have conversation because I have messages to help other people see. And
Mhm.
I tell people that, you know, we have answers for questions that other people have. And other people have the answers to our questions that we have. But
Yeah.
we have to be able to conversate to see what those answers are. But if you never
Yeah.
have the conversations, you would never see what the questions and answers are that's supposed to match up. Now,
Mhm.
do you remember your first affirmation that you ever did?
The very first one I remember writing is "I'm proud of you."
Talking to
That's
yourself?
really what. Yes, to myself, I'm proud of you because it's it was like during the time you're normally encouraging someone else. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You did a great job. And I actually had to look at myself in the mirror, and my therapist helped me, with that. And she was like, just like you encourage everybody else, encourage yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself whatever it is. So the very first one that I wrote, that I had put on my affirmation mirror, and that I actually shared on my at the time it was called Lunchtime Affirmations with Shunta Marie, was the "I'm proud of you." And I was encouraging them while I was encouraging myself. So to tell yourself, I'm proud of you. You made it. Regardless of the struggles and the hard times you've had or that you're going through right now, you're still here. You're still alive. Tell yourself that I'm proud of you. Pat your own self, as the song said, encourage yourself and tell yourself that you are proud of
So when you do your affirmations, do you say them out loud in public?
you. Yes, I do. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, like if it gets kind of kind of rough, I'm like, okay, I'm like you. I talk to myself sometimes. You got this. Quit overthinking this thing. You got this. Do it. That's literally me. Literally
Uh,
me.
Correction. I talk to myself all the time. All the time. I don't do
Yeah.
it sometimes. I do it all the time. Y'all can call me crazy. Y'all can say whatever you want. I talk to myself all the time because at
Right.
the end of the day, the one person I know got me is me.
Right.
So it's even once this is over, I'm like, you did a good job. You did a good job because
Yeah.
who can keep you uplifted besides you? So
Right.
that's why it's a different conversation that you have with yourself than it is when you're having a conversation with yourself. I don't need
Right.
the white jacket conversation I have with myself. I control the
Right.
conversation I have with myself. So it's a different conversation. Uh, so let's talk about the book. We've bounced around about the book, but we never told the people what the title of the book is because that's why we're here, because you have the book coming out in March. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So talk to me about the book. What do the people need to know about the book? The title is Daily Doses of Prayer. Is that correct?
Yes, Daily Doses of Prayer. This it's another anthology, which is a book of a collection of stories. Well, this particular book is a book with a collection of prayers, and it is a 365 day devotional with prayers. and I believe it's over 100 authors. And so if you don't know how to pray, I'm quite sure you will find a prayer in this book that will touch something or some area in your life to where you can just literally repeat that prayer out loud. And I know it's going to be a blessing because a lot of people really um, don't know how to pray. And I always tell people what you think prayer is. It's not what everybody else show you. It's literally having a conversation with God. Just like I'm
Yep.
having a conversation with you. You talk to God just like you would talk to your friend. Because he
Yep.
is your friend. And you don't have to be these thous, those. You don't know. God, you know how I feel right now. You know I'm mad. You created me. You know I'm mad right now.
That,
So can you please calm me down before I do something I ain't got no business doing? I mean that you're literally praying.
I'm laughing because I tell people all the time. They be like, "You so crazy." I said, "They be like, why are you acting like that?" I'm like, "Hey, God made me. He knew I was going to act exactly like I was going to act. He made me
Yeah,
exactly like this. So if you mad at me, you hating on me. You hating on God, okay? Because
yeah,
He knew who I am. He knew exactly what my DNA is because He created the DNA.
yeah,
And so as this, and exactly what you said, because I'd be like, man, why you tripping? Man, why you tripping? You tripping
yeah.
today? Because it's and I talked to my homeboys. I said, boy, you need to stop tripping. I, but at the same time, I'm gonna take it another level. You also
Mhm.
need to be like, hey, how you doing today? Everything
Yeah,
okay with you? Okay? You good?
yeah.
I don't need nothing. I just want to know if you good.
Right.
I mean, you need to do that too because a lot of times
Yeah,
it's like your uncle, aunt, mom, or one of those family members. You're like, hey, can I borrow $10? But you never take the time to be like, hey, uncle, how you doing? You know, everything okay?
right.
Oh, you good? You good? You know,
Yeah,
if you show those common courtesies, then
yeah,
it's okay to do the hey, let me hey, you know, I'm doing kind of bad right now. Can I get some gas money? Oh yeah, no problem. But you have to show the common
yeah.
courtesy. You have
Right.
to show the common courtesy is the simple thing. It's to show
Yeah,
that you care about that person is still walking. Because we always wait till the person is no longer walking to all of a sudden show all the care and common courtesy when they're no longer here.
right.
That's one thing I tell people. I say, all you gotta do is just check on me. Just say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? Good morning, good
Right.
afternoon. How's everything going? I'll bless you all day long. But if you can't put that little small thing in there, good day, good afternoon, once or twice a week, them gates are gonna be closed.
You're right.
What did it say? It ain't in the Bible, but you know people put it in the Bible. You don't work, you don't eat. So yeah,
True.
if you can't learn how to bless yourself, then the blessing from the person you're trying to get it from will no longer be there. So you have to
Right.
show up and manifest to grind. So if you missing the grind and you're showing up, then you won't
Yeah.
get no manifestations.
So true.
How did you pick the 100 authors? Or are you part of the 100 authors?
I am a part of the 100 authors. The actual visionary author, the one who sets over this anthology, her name is Melanie Bonita, and she kind of pretty much made a post, and she does a daily dose of whatever it is that particular year, and this year was prayer. So she wanted just people in general. You didn't have to be a minister, you didn't have to be a pastor, you didn't have to be in the church. If you had a prayer, if you have prayers that you wanted to just get published, you were invited to join. And so pretty much my prayer was centered around what I do. I did a prayer for those who praise in it. I did a prayer for those who are authors. I also did a prayer for those who are attached to ministry. So those were the three areas that I kind of focused on with the prayers that I contributed to this project.
So you pray for people that are in a particular field that you have
Yes.
gotten into now. Uh,
Yes.
that's that's a good prayer because being in that field that we're in now, it's uh, I can say this: we know what it's like to get into it, and no one is willing to open the door once they get in. I'm like
Yeah.
the I don't mind making an extra key for someone to be able to get in.
Yeah.
But once I make you that extra key, don't make that extra key for everybody behind you.
Right.
Because some people may come in with that key and take everything you've created. So you have to be
Right.
cautious with who you're giving the keys to. Uh, so I understand it from that perspective too. But that still don't stop me from praying for everyone that I talk to, everyone that didn't talk to me. Even when I
Right.
send those messages, I'm like, hey, I have a podcast. I love to talk to you on my podcast. Love to talk about what you got coming up. Love to introduce you to my people. Love for you to introduce me to your people. Uh,
Right.
and even if they say no, cool, okay. I'm not mad about it. Just know,
Yeah.
like one of my previous guests said, just know my closet has a lot of receipts. So, and people only want to talk to people that got numbers.
mm.
And so that's in the podcast where they looking at numbers. So I think the hottest person right now is Cat Williams.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for everybody that's been listening to Cat, he's been saying that for over 30 years now. So to me, it wasn't anything new because I've been
Right.
listening to what he's been saying. So uh, I'm like, okay, he's been saying that. He just had a stage now
Right.
where actual people would listen to what he was saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I looked at him like, okay, it probably happened. But you still have to hold yourself accountable for things that didn't happen. So
Yeah.
that's all I'm gonna say on that. And then y'all had y'all Cat Williams piece. That's all I'm gonna say about that. What's how many books have you written? Because you're part of this anthology. How many books have you written so far?
Two so far, and I'm currently working on my own personal book telling my story. I'm 75% done. My
Okay.
plan is to release.
Breaking news here on the Book I Read podcast.
I'm planning to release my own personal book in the fall of this year. I'm putting the timeline on me so I can go and get it done. Because if I don't, it's gonna be 2025, and I'm still yet right. So that's the timeline I have for myself, which is fall of 2024 for my own personal book that tells my story.
But 2025 may not be a bad time either if that's what God said. It's not supposed to be out to next
Right.
year. Because once
So
you
true.
finish it, doesn't mean that that's not all He wants you to say.
Right.
Because once you finish it, that's just all that you can remember. But that's not all that the floodgates will be open for you to remember. Uh, what about media groups? Are you looking to open up your own publishing group so people can come through you to publish their books, or are you always going to publish through someone else?
So I want to self-publish. Uh, I don't plan on doing like a group thing or whatever. I mean, unless the Lord says otherwise. Unless He says otherwise. But right now, no. I just want to just self-publish whatever He gives me to say.
I think He's giving you the opportunity to open your own so people can come through you, so you can tell them how to do it. Shunta Publishing. I see it happen. I see it happen. I see it in the future. May not be this year, may not be next year,
Yeah.
but the blessing is going to happen because your progression and everything that you have going, praise dancers, you're winning awards, you're doing affirmations for people. So at some point, uh, you can't wait on the Lord to say something if He's already saying it to you. You have to be able to listen to it when He's saying it.
You're right.
Because 5 to 10 years down the road, and you look back, you're like, oh, He said that 10 years ago. So at some
Yeah.
point, you have to start training your ears to hear it when He's saying it
Mhm.
and stop being like, I'm waiting on you to tell me. And He's looking like, I already said it. So that's something we lack too is listening
Yeah.
when he says it. What else do you have for the people listening? How can they reach your books? How can they get the previous two books that you've written? How can they reach you? How can they get in touch with you if they want to? Where can they
Well,
reach
you
you
can
at?
actually connect with me on my link tree. I have a link tree and it's Shawnee Marie, linktree.com/Shawnee Marie. Or you can just reach out to me through my email at shawneemarie@gmail.com, and it's SHUNNIEMARIE@gmail.com. And you can find me on all social media platforms under the same name, Shawnee Marie. I'm there. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I tweet every now and then. I'm on there too. But yeah.
You mean you X every now and then?
Yeah, X, tweet,
You mean
X,
you X every
whatever
now
they
and
want
then?
to call it.
That's a stupid name. But X, if you want to support either one of our podcasts, please do so. We will be willing to have your sponsorship. I'm not going to leave that out.
Yes.
We will be willing to have your sponsorship. Uh, what would you say that lady name is? If she needs anybody else to put something in the book for 2025, I am available. I have things I can put in there. I will be willing to add anything to uh, support the cause. I'm willing to support all my peers out there in the author world. Miss Graham, I'm always appreciative of people stopping by, whichever podcast they stop by on. Uh, I'm always appreciative of joining people in their journey, and it's a sure pleasure to meet you. I saw your posts, and I'm like, I'm gonna get her on the podcast, especially the book podcast, because you have a book coming out. I'm looking forward to it coming out. I haven't started my reading of books yet. I usually start from March to December. I try to get 30
Okay.
in a year. And I do all audiobooks. Is your books available in an audiobook?
No, at this moment they are not.
Okay. So that's a what's it called? That's a monetization that you should look into getting, because there's a lot of people that do audiobooks. Because when I'm driving, the 6 to 7 hours or 5 or 4 hours, I can listen to an audiobook.
Yeah.
And so then that's a good monetization. Also, if you need someone to read those, I might know might know a guy that can do that. Uh,
I hear you.
but I
I hear you
yeah, but
plug.
I
I hear you
yeah,
plug.
I appreciate you stopping by. And if you ever need me, you have my information.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm in Arkansas every now and then, so it's not hard to find me. For everyone else, appreciate you listening in to the Book I Read podcast, especially to episode 2, the book of Shunta Graham. Please dive into any one of her books and listen to support the author, because without your support, we can't do what we do. You have anything else for the people before we go?
No, not
You know
really.
what?
But
Yeah, you do. Leave them with an affirmation.
I was just getting ready to do that. I was like, no, but I just want to encourage you all with this affirmation. When you feel like quitting, remember why you started.
Mm.
When
You
you
feel
feel
like
like
quitting?
quitting,
Remember why?
remember why you started. And I use that because a lot of times we want to quit things, but we got to remember why we started it. And I know it will encourage you to keep going, whether it's in life in general, whether it's trying to eat right, do right, lose weight, uh, just in general. If you want to quit, remember why you started doing whatever it is that you're doing. And that's my encouragement for you all today.
Y'all heard it. Anytime you feel like you need to sit down, but make sure you get right back up.
Yeah.
I'll see y'all next time.